Welcome to this week's training. To start off today, I actually wanted to chat about a personal experience that I've had as an entrepreneur and talk about how we as entrepreneurs like to sort of leave things in our dust and in our wake. So, I have personally had to learn this lesson multiple times, and I may even relearn it again in the future. Is that as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, we like to make some pretty sweeping changes to solve the problems that we are facing, to allow for us to get to bigger and better places. But it's constantly having us in a place where we are reinventing ourselves and reinventing the business. And what I've learned in my years working with other business owners, as well as going through my own mistakes as a business owner, is that what you should be doing, and like I personally, right, my clients are all creative, so we like to do big, bold, fun ideas, and I'm the same person, right? I'm both right brain and left brain, and my job allows me to sort of combine the both of them in a great way, and why I do what I do. But that goal to make these big sweeping changes and see things make these huge impactful movements to allow for us to continue to be creatively inspired, business inspired, life inspired, is that we actually cause bigger problems for ourselves. So we may have this big new thing that we are looking to accomplish, and those big changes that we are then implementing is that we left all the old things that we were doing in our wake, and they get left in the dust, and someone else was potentially doing it, or it just never gets done again. And it's really problematic. I mean, to one point I actually had a report internally and had someone, we built a report, and it was actually quite useful for at one point, and then I stopped looking at it, and then built a new report and a new dashboard and something different, but I never actually told the prior person to do it. And it was taking them about 2 hours a week, and then come to find out that they've been doing it for the better part of 6 months, and 2 hours a week times half of the year was a full work week of time and a good investment of someone's time, and unfortunately hadn't been looking at it. And this is one of those instances where doing this new big shiny thing that I was all forward about it and didn't actually pay attention to what I was leaving in my wake, and didn't think about what that meant. So what I wanted to talk with you today is about solving problems, identifying problems, and solving big problems that are facing your agency, and how tempting it can be to find these huge, creative, bold ideas to try to solve them. And in your path to become a seven figure agency or grow beyond that, if you're already at seven figures, is understanding that we all have problems and we all have challenges. And as an entrepreneur, those challenges, unfortunately speaking, and if you're here to just get in them all to go away, I don't know that that's going to be possible. We always have changes. We always will have challenges. We will always have aspects of struggle in business. And then ultimately, actually finding fun and tinkering with your existing business, with your existing business model, is actually the quickest and best path to improvement of your business overall, allowing for your team to create greater focus, for you to have lower risk solutions. It may feel like you're making small progress, but sometimes going slowly is the right way. And quite frankly, typically these tinkering ideas are low cost, low risk, and it may not produce these dramatic results that you're looking for, these big, bold ideas, but they actually have more longer lasting, meaningful results. So if you don't have the worksheet for today's training, comment tinker in on the video below, and we'll make sure to get that to you as soon as possible. So creating, really, when you're going through doing these, creating these big bold projects, initiatives, things that you're doing, takes research, it takes training, it takes building, it takes ideation, it takes failing, it takes tons of things, and by nature it's quite different, and that actually creates a ton of complexity and takes a ton of time investment. It makes it more risky for you to launch something new, because I mean, realistically speaking, you don't know if it's going to work out, and will it actually move the needle. And if it doesn't work, it can often feel like a waste. I personally don't believe in things being a waste. I think of it as an investment, but it can, ultimately speaking, be a huge risk and not work out. And it can be expensive, both in money and in time. You have to bring on new people potentially, buy new software and tools. Excuse me for a second. Buy new software and tools, and you don't know whether it's going to work out in the end. And it's really important that you make sure that you have, and you may not even have had the money to spend. And it's important that you make sure that you are actually dedicating your time to where you actually need to dedicate your time. So, what we're looking for is something that's fast and easy to implement. We're looking for something that is going to have a low barrier of entry, and what I tend to refer to as the easy round, something that's going to have the highest amount of impact, lowest amount of the highest amount of ease, allowing for you to be able to find something that is not going to take a whole lot of time, is going to really help you move the needle in your agency, and is going to allow for you to really be able to make some some long-term changes and help you actually move the needle. Ultimately speaking, it should be low risk, that you're not going to you've already tested the overall concept, you already know what it's doing, you're just making small tweaks. And in last week's training, we talked about how 2% better actually allows for you to make changes. And ultimately speaking, we're continuing on with the concept of the 2% better, but with a little bit different, talking about it more in an operational sense as well. And ultimately cheaper, time investment, money investment, allowing for you to be able to mitigate quite a bit of risk. So let's talk about the overarching process, right? So tinkering really is experimenting with small things in your business. And I want you to look at, let's talk about, you're looking at adjusting the client onboarding process. You're looking at adjusting the way that you actually are delivering a specific type of service, allowing for you to become more efficient, allowing for the client to get better results, more assured results, whatever it is, right? That you want to actually look at everything in a ladder of how it is exactly that you're doing it right now. Make sure that you get quite in depth about what you're doing and what are the hinge points within that process. What is the emotional experience of the client? What is the emotional experience of your team? What are the reasons why things do not go the way that you're looking for? And this is just, you're looking at making small refinements in the process. Again, you're not looking at trashing everything out, starting anew. The things that are core to your agency for the vast majority of the time exist already. It's just highlighting them, improving upon them, tinkering with them, making them better, that ultimately makes it so much better and impactful for you because you're not having to constantly reinvent. And there's tons of things, realistically speaking, that I know there's projects that get sat and sit collecting dust because you think it's going to take me so long to do this. But realistically speaking, it shouldn't take that long because the vast majority of it is already distilled within your agency and you already have it there. You're just having to document it, refine it, adjust it slightly that allows for it to be meaningful. And ultimately, it actually creates and changes the atmosphere for your agency too. Because if you're constantly making these big, sweeping, dramatic changes, people don't know where they're coming or going. They don't know what the vision, long-term vision is of your country. They can't really have a purpose of what it is that they're doing with you because they don't know where you're headed. And you're making these huge adjustments on an ongoing basis. And I suffered through this myself, is that my team didn't know what it is exactly we were headed because who knows what crazy idea I was going to be cooking up next and what we were going to be in for a ride for, right? And it allows for you to actually create a more playful, experimental, improvisational type atmosphere with your team members, allowing for them to really be able to actually start having you no longer needing to be the mind for everyone. And I know for me, this was a huge change in the way that I looked at things because the vast majority of the time I was the one that was creating everything from, marketing copy to content to the things that I was meeting with clients about to solving challenges within my own business. Like I was the one solving everything and giving a project plan. All right, now you go implement, right? So I was researching, I was planning, and I had a bunch of hands. I didn't have a bunch of minds, which was ultimately the thing that I really needed. And you do too, is that you can't be thinking for everyone. And if you are, it's exhausting. And I know that I was exhausted. So, how do you actually allow for you to create an atmosphere that you have them actually being playful and looking for different solutions to problems and actually tinkering themselves? And it's if you create a consistent forward path. You create a consistent purpose, vision for the company that allows for people to really buy into it. And so let's talk about the sort of step-by-step process that I would suggest you go through, right? Is that step one is like really immerse yourself in the situation. So what is it exactly that you're looking to accomplish? What is the project or the thing that you're looking to refine? Get really clear on how it's working right now. Really deep in an understanding of motivations, desires from your client, motivations, desires by your team, what's going wrong, what's going right, how are actually things working from the ground up, making sure that you're able to come into it and start developing some fresh ideas, some new insights that allow you to understand what's going on within your business to help really get to step two. Step two is actually defining, gathering all those insights of what you've been doing and going through it. Make sure that you're defining all the problems before you actually really start solving them fully, is that you really have an understanding of all the different eccentricities and all the different pieces that are going on day to day within your agency, within that process, within that system that isn't really working very well. So now that you have it defined, we can actually start moving into step three. And step three is actually going to start working on reorient the system. So you're going to want to really start to be flexible in the way that you're thinking about it. In the pursuit of larger goals and aspirations, you really need to think about what is the use of every single step. Sometimes we think and we layer on. I know I personally have done this, is that we end up with like this kind of Frankenstein business, right? That we've like taken a piece here and we've plat and just like layered on, and it becomes super complex. And how do we actually remove all those pieces, reorient the way that it's supposed to actually be, allow for us to actually have a clear vision forward of what we should be doing, so that we're not actually overcomplicating everything, right? So we have, as humans, as creatives, as business owners, that we tend to start working on, overcomplicating things and making sure that you don't actually have to make it so overly complicated. I think realistically speaking, a good process is one that's easily digestible very quickly and understand, so that someone that needs to reference it, to use it, can actually digest it in a couple of minutes, know what they need to do, take a step forward, rather than, pages and pages long of what needs to be done. And step four is iterate, right? Take a look at what's actually going on. Repeat what's actually happening. Test frequently so that you're armed better with different insights, information, assumptions as things go on. And quite frankly, version 1 is not ever going to really be perfect. Version 2 may not be either. Version 375 may be great, maybe not. And there's always room for improvement. But keep testing, keep refining, keep changing until forever, really. You need to be constantly tinkering, looking at the business, and find excitement in the little tinkers within your business, in the little adjustments of what you're doing, allowing for you to actually have a sustainable, growing business. I think that it's really important to not really be taking a bat to your business on an ongoing basis. And I know that this happens, and I've done this myself, and trying to make these huge, huge, huge sweeping adjustments that, ultimately speaking, didn't accomplish the end goal, just make things more complicated. It didn't allow for me to actually really get to where I need to be. And I imagine for most of you, it's probably the same for you as well. And I think it's really important that you spend some time looking at what do you really need to do, and actually put a plan together. Discover the new ideas, bring your team involved, create some strategies around it. Really make sure that you're working on the things that are going to move the needle, and how you actually define that. And as I refer to it with all my clients, is determining what that right next thing is, helping actually implement a system that's there, refining one that's the best practice, and actually allowing for us to be able to do the thing that is going to be creating the highest amount of impact with the greatest amount of ease, so that you're not overwhelming yourself on an ongoing basis. Growing your business, improving your agency shouldn't be overwhelming. It should be exciting, it should be motivating, it should be energizing, and it shouldn't be something that is depleting you from excitement. And that, I mean, quite frankly, looking at it as every unsuccessful attempt is really one step closer to a successful one, and recognizing that everything that you learn along the way is something that you shouldn't do again, and that knowing that is actually sometimes just as valuable as the thing that you learn to do. And that's okay. So if you have any questions about this, shoot us a message or just comment below, and I'll be sure to get you an answer. I did want to share with you in this particular topic, because this is something I am one of those I would say true entrepreneurs and having that constant thing that I'm wanting to do. I am that visionary type mind. I'm always looking for that great, new, challenging, fun thing to do. And sometimes it isn't the best. And sometimes it can be. I'm not saying that you shouldn't be looking to reinvent sometimes, and you very much can. And if it's needed, I'm here to help. But the thing is that sometimes you should just be continuing on the path that you're going, but just making slight tweaks and allowing for you to be the best version of yourself. 2% better, 1% better, allowing for yourself to be better than you were yesterday, last month. And what is it right now that you are working on? Is it going to be moving the needle? Is it going to make your agency better? If you have any questions about it, post what you're working on below and what the actual best outcome, the goal outcome from it is. And I'll let you know what my thoughts are. All right, everybody. Hope you enjoyed this.